Is that not exciting? Trying a new thing. It's one of the most powerful things we could do with our lives. You know, when the world began anew, when the Big Bang was simply unfurling, it's almost like the universe said, "Let's try something a little different today." Welcome to the Danswers podcast. I am your host, Dan Donohue. This is a test of the live streaming software that I am using now. I hope you are able to watch this. I hope you are able to enjoy it. Please, it is imperative that you let me know in the chat how everything is looking, how everything is sounding, if I sound okay, if I look cute, if you think I've gained weight. These are all things that I need you to add to the chat. No, that's not true. In fact, don't even come close to adding any of that to the chat. I'm your host, Dan Donohue. This is going to be a very special, perhaps brief, perhaps very long episode of Dancers. Someone just said blurry. Okay. Mm, that'll be an issue. I don't really know how to solve exactly. Um is it still blurry? Is it blurry on everyone's end? Well, let me know. When you say mirrored view, what does that mean exactly? Because we got a question down here that I would like to answer, but I do want to know from the chat how everything is looking as of right now. Okay, thank you, Nat. I appreciate that. We now have the ability. Oh, the text on my shirt is backwards. That's fine. Hey, we're not going to get everything perfect on this, okay? Just a little blurry, but not too bad. That might be on your end. I just I ask you guys to help me with the live stream, and then I blame everything on you. That would be pretty funny, wouldn't it? Okay. So, not that high def. I do wonder how to fix this. But anyway, we got a question here. The God equation is the matrix, and omniscience comes after. Let's talk about that. Yeah, I've been wanting to talk about this for a very long time. This is something that's actually been on my mind a lot. Uh, the God equation is certainly the matrix. That comes to as no surprise to everyone, to anyone, and om omniscience comes after, and that's very true. And it's good to know that everyone in the chat is very sane and powerful and in a good headspace. And I want the person who added this comment to just know: do not seek me out. Do not try to find my family. No, this is not. This is not too early to drop a question. Please drop a question. We're already having tons of people complaining about the video quality, and they're trying to hurt me, and they're trying to attack me in the chat. So I would love a question, honestly, to kind of break up the monotony. Here we go. This is a question. Let me know if the questions are coming up on the chat, because that would also be nice to know. If you were an animal, which one do you think you would be? And that's a wonderful question. That's a great question. That's a question I will certainly answer. If I was there's an animal known as a capybara, and I think I would be that. They have no enemy. They simply kind of walk around. They have strange vacant looks in their eyes, much like a dog or like a very large marmot, if I may say marmot. So that's what I would say. I would say I'm most like perhaps a capybara, wanting to be left alone, wanting to bathe, wanting to simply kind of look with a blank, vacant stare as a camera crew passes by and tries to get very cute shots of me. And in the chat, please keep letting me know if the video quality is good while the questions continue to go up. Oh, this is a really this is a good question. Wait. I'm sorry. I'm still learning how to use all the functions. Oh, yeah. Listen, here's the thing about that guy. First of all, thank you, and anyone who's coming after me in the comments, you're hurting my feelings directly, and you're getting to me. I just want you to know that you're getting to me. Um, the Wait, so when you say okay, now listen, that video, the Leave Britney Alone video, if you go just based off that video, I could see people having thoughts about the person who made the video, right? But actually, I think it turned out that the person who was in the Leave Britney Alone video was kind of normal and nice, and they were just having sort of a moment. And when it comes to supporting things, when it comes to supporting our favorite artists, whoever they may be, whatever they may be doing, haven't we all had a moment of being upset if people come after them? Have we not all had a musician that we like and they come out with an album where, if we're really being honest with ourselves, maybe was not the best attempt, and we defend them with our lives? That just happens. That's just part of the game, okay? So, maybe we be a little bit nicer to people who are having meltdowns online. It's the only place to have a meltdown these days. Let's see here. Well, this is a very interesting question. How do you break the ice when servicing someone? Well, if you're already servicing them, I believe that you have already broken the ice, I hope. If you're servicing someone, I assume you mean in the context of pleasure, which I am all for that. I just want us to all know I have a very positive outlook on that. And I think that it's fine to be doing stuff like that. But if you're already servicing someone, I would hope that you've gone through the pleasantries. I would have hoped you would already have said, "How was your day?" I would have hoped that you would already have gone over where you both went to college, if anywhere. This is actually the fact that you're asking this question says a lot more about you than it does about the question. Because I will say, if you're out there servicing people, um, which congratulations, first of all, this is a very difficult world. It's a tough world. You can find somebody to sit down with and to or lay down with or stand up with. Listen, whatever position you're in, that's up to you and the man or men or women or whoever is upstairs in your book. Okay? But if you're servicing people without even, kind of getting through the getting to know you phase, I think that probably speaks to you being an interesting person. I'm gonna try something for a moment. Let me know if this is better or worse. When it comes, oh wow, oh no, what have I done? Hopefully this goes away, folks. We're just trying things out here. No, sorry. One sec, guys. Please bear with me. There we go. Okay. And I hit my tooth with the microphone, and that hurt. Is this better blurry wise or worse blurry wise? Or has nothing changed? These are the things we're trying to work out with this first live. Okay? Let's see what we got here. How do you get over shame over something you did that you regret doing? Nothing illegal or that hurt anyone. Just feeling foolish. That's a really great question. First of all, thank you for specifying, because a lot of the times when people will go, oh, I need to get over my shame, people will generally say, oh, well, you need to forgive yourself, right? And that's great general advice. Okay? It's great general advice. But what did you do? That's my question. Always. What did you do? you gotta know what someone did before you kind of give your opinions on how much they should forgive themselves for that. People will usually give like the blanket general advice of like, you just have to learn to love yourself. You just have to sit down and give yourself a little kiss on the mirror and go, "Mwah, mwah, 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 mwah," and then it'll all be better. It's like, yeah, okay, what did you do? Did you drive through a farmer's market dead sober in the middle of the day? Probably maybe shouldn't forgive yourself right away for that. Maybe have a few moments of not forgiving yourself for that one. Honey, you just need to get over it. Honey, you just need to get over it. You need to get over that, okay? Leave that past behind you. Ah. So thank you for specifying that it's nothing illegal. Hey, and listen, illegal is a broad category, okay? Illegal is you can do something illegal that you shouldn't necessarily feel a lot of shame over, right? In fact, I think some illegal things, and mind you, this is a performance, and I am a performer, and nothing I am saying is actually real, and I don't believe anything that I am saying, and this is a character that I'm playing. I think some illegal things, that you would do can be done in the name of justice and can be done in the name of goodness, especially in the short term. So when we were speaking of things you should regret, shouldn't regret, it's good that you kind of initiated that it's not something that should be illegal or that hurt someone. So I would say your first step should be looking at it from someone else's perspective. I think that's usually the easiest way that that we can kind of start dealing with shame. It's the easiest way because it turns it from something like icky and personal and it feels bad and why did I do that into something where it's like, oh, that was silly, that was funny, what I did. You know, you don't have to always look at something from your own perspective, but you can and you can still feel bad, like you feel, what's the word, cringe in the short term about like, oh, I can't believe, let's just say, I'm going to go ahead, and this is not what you did, but just to make this answer easier, I'm going to say you farted really loud at in a train station. And I'm sure you did something that's different than that, but just as context and because you want to be vague, I'm going to go ahead and say that you farted really, really hard in a train station. So when you fart really loud in a train station, you're going to feel that pouring over of guilt, of regret, of pain, right? You look around and you realize you can't leave the platform because your train is coming and you don't want to miss it. However, everyone heard that. There's a reverberation effect within the kind of capsule of the train station. So you're now stuck in this cacophony of your own fart sound. That feels bad. That seems bad. Imagine you were sitting there and you heard someone fart really, really loud at the train station. Doesn't seem so bad now, does it? Sort of seems like not a big deal. Sort of seems like something you might even giggle at, right? Because you go, that person didn't mean to fart that loud. If they did, they're very talented. But chances are they didn't. They didn't mean to fart that loud. What they meant to do was kind of let a little silent one out, and then it ended up being loud. And who among us, right? Who among us hasn't done that? So I would go ahead and say you should take your shame and you should look at it from someone else's perspective. Okay? Let's see this. Whoa. And sometimes you get a comment that's just very interesting. I'm a convicted felon for marijuana, and I have no guilt or shame, nor should you. Just because it's illegal doesn't make it right or correct. That is completely right. Okay? That is completely right. I'm gonna go ahead and say that, that's one of the, I mean, listen, there's a lot of injustice that goes on. The legal system has a lot I'm gonna go ahead and say a lot wrong with it. But one of the craziest things is when we live in a time where we realize something we were doing was wrong and we have to correct it and then deal with that correction, and arresting people for selling weed is so crazy that it does, like, require a level of pause, I think, like, societally, to really kind of ingest that we did that. Like, it's been spoken about a lot. Listen, you go to any protest for anything, and you're gonna have people there who are like, "Legalize weed." That's the best. That's the fun. I was at, I've been to protests and demonstrations for things, and at almost everyone, whether it be prison reform or, like, racial justice or whatever it is, there is always a guy there who is like, "And also we should legalize weed." There were, legalize it demonstrators at Occupy Wall Street, and some people will look at that and they'll say, "Those guys are dumb, and they don't really have, a direction, and they're taking this other movement, and they're taking whatever advantage of it." I'm gonna go ahead and say, at a certain level, passion just matters to me, no matter where that passion comes from, okay? And I'm gonna go ahead and say that, the passion that those guys have for legalizing weed in some ways overpowers how strange it is that they are making that a point when no one else is talking about it at a protest that has nothing to do with it. Um, but yeah, I think that we are really kind of poking our heads out and realizing how crazy it is that for a while we were just like, "Oh yeah, let's put weed dealers in jail." You know? I wonder what the next one is gonna be. I Let me say this, and I might come under fire for this, but you know what? We're I'm here to be a provocateur, okay? I'm pivoting into being a provocateur. Now I'm gonna be a guy who says salacious things online. Um, so there was a video, a very viral video of a politician in Rhode Island who was caught in the act of doing drugs, right? He was in his car, he was doing hard drugs. And the one of the points of the video, I believe, is that this is a guy who legislated like very heavily for criminal justice, like being harsher on criminals and stuff like that. So there's a level of Schadenfreude when you have something like that, right? Where it's like, "Oh, look at this guy. He said drugs are really bad, and yet he is doing them." Very basically, that is like an understandable position to have when it comes to this. There's a point in the video where the guy like tries to deny it, and then the cop is like, "Well, you have a pipe on literally on your stomach right now," which, and again, that's kind of funny. It's kind of sad. It's kind of funny. Things can be more than one thing at once. I was made very uncomfortable, actually, and this isn't a crazy take, but I was made very uncomfortable by the fact that, like, this guy clearly is struggling with a level of addiction. He's clearly struggling with, like, he's using and stuff, and we're gonna just put him in jail, and, like, that's gonna help anything? I don't know if, like, we're gonna look back at the fact that we put just, like, street level drug users in jail just for possession and usage. I don't know if we're gonna look back at that and go like, "That was good that we did that." Doesn't seem, like it works, Seems like it costs taxpayers a lot of money. And yeah, I just don't personally. I really don't get it. I really don't get it, to be honest with you. I don't understand equating. Oh my god. Yeah, this is why this live stream, by the way, this is just for the people on the apps that I'm not putting this out anywhere else because this is a tester. And I'm going to look back at the video and make it better, obviously. I don't understand equating quote unquote legal with quote unquote right or quote unquote moral. That might be the basis of the legal concept, but it has strayed so far from the bulk of laws, our accounting and HOA minded. Yes, you know what? I go ahead and I agree with that statement. I definitely think. Well, you know what's really interesting about, and again, I am a stand-up comedian, and the things that I say are not. What was I going to say? Yeah, you guys are my guinea pigs. Um, I'm not uh, a source that should be listened to in any way, but I do give my opinions on things because I can't shut up, and it's hard for me to shut up. Um, Something that's very interesting is we penalize people in many situations based on fines that are standardized, right? So let's say things like a traffic violation, things that like result in a fine, like just basically any parking meter stuff, whatever. But those fines aren't scaled to how much money we have. So the punishment that we receive from fines is totally different from person to person. Isn't that such an interesting thought? Like, a buddy brought that up to me, and I'm so stupid I never really thought of it that way, but it's like, "Oh, yeah, when I get, like, a $75 parking ticket, I go, oh, that sucks. That's more than what I make from doing one show a lot of the time." But when, uh when somebody who's, like, super rich gets a $75 fine, it's like, "Oh, that's nothing." They'll just pay that the same way you pay the parking meter. So it is really funny to live in a system where in a lot of ways certain, like, at least petty crimes are punished based on money, which is totally scalable considering who you are. And so those fines basically hit poor people way harder than they hit rich people. What it also says is the law applies to you based on how much money you have. That's not me like making that up. That's just like the way the system is set up, which is very, very interesting. Let's see here. Yeah. Yeah, I'm incredibly intelligent and I make huge points. Let's just put this one here. Hey Dan, Jamie the Butcher here. I love I love people with a standardized introduction. And I think that's good. Just curious, if you have ever dealt with anger in your heart, having trouble letting go of said anger, but it's seemingly rooted in nothing. Wow, Jamie, that's very interesting. You know what? We're gonna go into this question because it's multi-part, and I like the way you spelled curious, and I'm happy to answer. I've dealt with anger, certainly. Um, my anger is generally not directed at other people. It's generally directed at myself, I've found. Only a few times have I ever had anger that is like even remotely related to other people, and when it is, it usually immediately turns into me being mad at myself again. That's kind of how my personal anger works. Like if someone does something and it makes me angry, what I'll usually do is then immediately get angry about me being angry. You know what I mean? And then that's a whole different kind of anger. That's a whole different flavor of anger. No, there's definitely a very something to be said, and it's like very true that anger directed at other people while not being good is at least in some way is a statement of like stance. Like you're making the stance, this person is wrong and I'm right. And that, that may be true, it may not be true, but I'm just saying that's the framing of anger when it's directed outwardly and not inwardly, right? So I'll say yes, I've dealt with anger in my heart, and it is very hard to get rid of when you're angry with yourself and frustrated with yourself. But you just gotta understand, like, the world is supposed to be messy, and a lot of the times anger is a reaction to our desire for the world to be a perfect place. Like, a lot of the times, anger is just this kind of impotent, uh, refusal to accept the fact that the world is not perfect, and we are not perfect, and we want everything to be right in the way, and everything's just, and da 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 da. And it's like it's just not the way things are, unfortunately. I wish they were, truly, but they're just not. And we get all this angst about not doing everything perfect and other people not being perfect in our lives. And even if someone does something really messed up, it can be really hard to forgive them, and it can be really hard to, I mean, even with no one's ever, done me wrong to an extent where you would be shocked or like appalled or whatever. But even the times that I have felt like I've been wronged, it's been hard to kind of let that go, and it's been hard to kind of accept. And it's like we can hold on to the feeling of not liking another person. That's fine. There you're not supposed to be perfect. You're definitely not supposed to like everyone. That's not being a human being. That's not existing on the planet as a human being. You're just going to not like people. But you can also understand, and I think that there's a beautiful sense of acceptance when we can go, I accept myself for not liking this person. I also accept that this person isn't necessarily in control of the things they do. And even if they are, they're not necessarily completely directed at me. Like, they might seem to be directed at me, but really there's a bigger thing going on that I'm just not aware of because I'm not this person. So when it comes to like anger and letting go of anger, I think just looking at it in the context that the world is going to be messed up and horrible to you. And we don't need to be happy about that. We don't need to grin through it. We don't need to do spiritual bypassing to be like, this is fine. This is okay. And we don't need to even let go of our anger right away. It's healthy to feel anger sometimes. It's healthy to be upset and resentful sometimes. But there's a difference between a normal level and then an unhealthy level where we start to kind of indulge in those things. Anger is kind of like or like feeling that kind of righteous anger at someone else. It's kind of like a dessert in a weird way. Dessert's fine, dessert's healthy, but when you're eating nothing but dessert, it doesn't matter. It doesn't like really matter what's going on outside of it. You're not going to be kicking at 100%. You know what I mean? You're taking away from yourself. So that's what I'll say about anger and like letting go. Even if it's rooted in nothing, I think it still is rooted in a resentment that the world isn't the way you feel like it should be. That's kind of the root of all anger. And if you can kind of, in a way, understand that the only things that you have control of in your life are your own actions, uh, or whatever degree you have control of your own actions, implementing that sort of control and that sort of, I guess it's discipline. That's the only kind of stake in control in the world that you have, but you have control over very little. I hope that's okay. I hope that's okay to say. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Jamie the Butcher. And let me just say, I respect anyone who is angry and also named the Butcher. That's a pretty cool thing. You know what I mean? All right, so I'm gonna go back and take a look at the stream and see what the quality is and see what I can do to change it. I'm gonna be back on Sunday, so if you want to see the stream like this, please, 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 come back Sunday at 2 p.m. Eastern, or sorry, Sunday 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Sunday 2 p.m. And I'm gonna put out a reminder for this. My buddy Terrence is going to be here, and he's going to be going through the questions just to filter, so I'm not constantly like doing this and this. So that'll be good. And yeah, so I'll see you guys then. Thank you so much for being part of this trial. I hope it was good. I hope it was fun. I hope it was an interesting stream, and we'll make it better. Thank you all so much.